What is up? Welcome to episode 57 of the Danny Toddcast. Today I have my longtime friend and fellow content creator, Brian Delumpa. He is an incredibly talented man with a camera, creating badass imagery and video. It was absolutely a pleasure to sit down together and talk about what's going on, well, in the creative realm, but also have a conversation around what's going on in the world right now, specifically the Black Lives Matter movement. We see it all over social media, the good, the bad. I'm sure if you're listening to this, you kind of already know what I'm talking about. It's hard not to go on social media and see, all of the stuff going on right now. But to have Brian on the podcast and have this conversation, it was very very positive, and he shed some light on his own thoughts as a Black man during this time. And I just hope anyone listening can absorb some of the things he touches on, because I definitely know I did. He shares some good thoughts on what we all can be doing to kind of further this movement in a positive way and for some change. Just hope this episode reaches anyone listening in a good light. For this was just kind of a way to spread more knowledge and what we can do. Let's dive on in. Brian Delumpa, everyone. Yeah, dude, thanks for coming and joining me. Yeah. You're only home for
until Thursday.
Until Thursday.
Yeah.
Just for like a little family clear your head trip. Jeez, I can't talk.
I mean, it was kind of supposed to be. Are we recording?
Yeah, we're rolling.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you want to start that over? I didn't know.
No, you're good, dude. Good.
Yeah. So it was actually kind of just a way to break from everything. But it was also my brother's birthday too, and so my family's so rarely together that it was cool. My sister flew in from Hawaii as well, so yeah, finally got together. You know, it takes a lot to get 10 people together.
Is it total of like 7?
Yeah,
8.
Yeah.
8. Damn, dude.
Oh, that's crazy.
Shit. Fuck. And then so before I asked you, so you flew.
I did.
I gotta ask.
Yeah.
So did you fly into San Jose or?
So yeah, I flew from Austin to San Jose.
Okay. How?
No, actually, there weren't any direct flights. So normally I would do that, but I flew from Austin to Vegas to San Jose.
Oh shit.
Yeah, so I had to change of planes too.
Sick. So was it weird? Was it desolate?
Honestly, I didn't want to come home for that reason. I was a little anxious
for the travel.
Yeah. Especially there's something about being contained in that small space with so many people. I talked to a couple of friends in the medical field and whatnot. They kind of reassured me, told me they see patients every day who have, had it, who have recovered from it and everything in between. And so, they kind of reassured me that if you're wearing a mask and you're just taking proper precautions. So, yeah, I mean, it's kind of impossible to keep 6 feet apart and to really, police everyone else. You can only make sure you're doing the right things.
With the flights, I mean, both of those aren't long flights at all, but
normally it's about 4 hours.
Total, straight shot or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Direct, it's about 4 hours.
So being on 2 separate flights though, were they both, I mean, there must not be a lot of people on each flight.
So what they did actually, and I don't know if I flew on Southwest. I don't know if this is across all airlines, but they're not reserving them. They're not reserving a certain amount of tickets, so they leave the middle seat open.
So they have some buffer between
or at least the appearance of that.
Yeah. Hey, we're trying to, the seats are 2 feet wide.
Yeah, exactly. But that's everyone's dream too, that nobody sits next to you. So I don't think anyone was complaining.
Honestly, if they keep that for ever, I'm down.
People are going to be pissed when you have to start sitting next to people.
Shit. Well, so coming from Texas, I mean, obviously some of the stuff we've talked about before we were rolling, but I mean, Texas is pretty open. Have you gone to restaurants or are you still kind of I'm sure everyone's erring on the side of caution, but the fact that it's pretty opened up, are you starting to go out and do certain things or what's going on? I mean, I don't even know. I obviously don't live there, so.
I probably have to be more cautious speaking about Texas than I do going out in Texas because they will come for my head if I say the wrong thing.
No, yeah, I'm not saying it in a bad way.
I'm just saying, yeah. Honestly, no, I don't. I haven't been going out. I really locked up around early mid-March. I haven't been going out too much. I live a little outside of Austin anyway, so it's kind of easy to, you know, go into town for the things I need, but then just kind of hold back and hibernate. But yeah, it has definitely, you know, Austin and Texas by extension is, you know, they're very gung-ho about whatever they believe in, and Austin specifically felt that it was time to start opening up. So a couple weeks ago, they, you know, started doing like limited capacity bars and everything, and they had all these ground rules laid out. And personally, I didn't see any of them followed, but
of course,
you see photos, you see stories, and I mean, people are just right back at it, man.
As far as your like own take on it, like I mean, for me personally, I mean, since I'm here in California, it's different. I think we're a little behind everyone else as far as like opening things up, I guess. I mean, I did just get off of furlough like last month for my job, which my job is not essential at all. So like the fact that we opened up, it's good for the fact that like I'm starting to get some money, but like looking at all these other states that are kind of opening up, I'm like, I understand it. Like, hey, if you feel like you're sick or something, like stay home. Or if you're, what is it over 60 or is it 70? If you're over 70, you're in that kind of area where you are going to, the chances of you getting
should
it
at least be, yeah.
So like, I'm kind of going back and forth with like, hey, like you can't just shut down shit completely. Like people are starting to lose their damn minds. And like, I feel like in a way things should open up to an extent, kind of like Texas, be like, hey, like if you feel sick, don't go out of your house.
Yeah.
Like if you're going to go see your loved ones,
Should
make sure you're good. Like people got to make their money. They got to run their businesses. Like here I think there was I forget the name, like a burger shop that's been here for like 70 years and they had to shut down.
Yeah.
It's like,
it is unfortunate.
Some places should you like, hey, like if you feel like the need to go out and like, yeah, you're going to lose employees, but like, I kind of feel like, hey, like people need to make money. They need their businesses open. Like some people aren't going to be nice enough to stop rent. Like, so I'm like back and forth ping ponging. Like, what do I think is right for the situation? No, I don't think anyone actually knows the answer. Like all the way up to the man we won't speak of, who was our presidente, but fuck that, dude. It's insane. I mean, what do you think? Like, as far as like being in Texas and they are kind of opened up, on your own special opinion, not to like throw shade on Texas or anything. Do you think it's right? Do you think they should have done earlier or not at all? Like, what do you think?
You know, and then emotions change like almost daily too.
Of course.
At the beginning of all this, I was definitely on the side of we should be taking a lot of caution. You know, I think, and I do think Texas opened a little too early, or you know, but I guess we won't know until and if we see a second wave and if we see, you know, repercussions from this. But I have always said I wouldn't be upset if, you know, COVID was a huge over exaggeration and, you know, we did freak out. Like that's a good scenario to be in, you know, like, and I love that people are trying to like kind of have that upper hand. Like they want to be able to say, I told you so. I'm like, yeah, I'm hoping for that too. But
because you don't want it to be this massive pandemic that we thought it was.
Extinct,
because realistically, like in a way, it is overplayed that we like when this first started happening. It is overplayed than what we first thought. It's still terrible and it's tragic, and I'm not trying to take away from anyone that, you know, lost a family member or anything, but it is definitely, it's nothing close to, what was it, like the Spanish flu or something like that. That's just knowledge from me listening to too much Joe Rogan, but I don't know. Yeah, it's just weird. And I think within like this next coming month, like maybe like 2 weeks to a month, like we're going to really see if
we'll just see.
Because of, you know, like there's a bunch of protests in San Francisco.
Oh, of course,
San Jose to, I mean, LA is going crazy. So like when I saw that happening, which I'm all, you know, for people doing that and like for the cause and everything. But also I'm like, so is just coronavirus not a thing anymore? Did people forget? So and the spike, like, where is that going to go?
And that's what I started, you know, repeating myself. Like, this obviously is a little odd that
right.
we're not seeing people affected by it. But again, I hope that is the scenario and this isn't as big as we had feared. I am surprised that Texas wasn't it is actually one of the larger states as far as case. Don't quote me on it. I think it was like 6 or 7 when I checked a couple weeks ago, but it was, New York and California leading a few. And that was kind of rough too, man, because it was like I was dealing with it there in Austin and amongst my own, surroundings. But then I'm also thinking about everyone who I know here and how California is one of the leading states. So it was, it was a lot to think about.
It's definitely strange. So I guess like, when we did our podcast the other time over the phone, that was at like the beginning.
It's been such a long year, man. Was that this
year?
I'm
going to look back real quick. I can't even remember. It's like, I think it was forever. Let's see here. March 9th. So yeah, okay.
That seems like a long time ago.
Damn. So like how, I can't remember much. Obviously, I remember we talked a lot about like photo and stuff like that. And how is the photo like creative world going for you? Like, has things changed, or like with Texas kind of being back and open? Like, are you starting to get more flow of work, or like how is this kind of like impacting your career? Like, obviously, you work for Flow Sports, doing that stuff. Like, were you furloughed? Like, lots of questions in there. I know. I'm sorry.
You know what's funny is when we last spoke, that was probably right about the time when I went into lockdown. It was right around St. Patrick's Day. That's the like little time marker that I've been keeping. So my company actually didn't do any layoffs, which we're obviously very grateful for. It was, really excited. Especially being, graphic designers, our work can, be contracted out and stuff. Yeah. So we're grateful. I'm grateful to be employed. And so I think every time I've complained about quarantine, I try to step back and realize, I know so many people personally who are really struggling through this. So, I'm really grateful for that. So that wasn't too affected aside from the fact that we are a live sports company. And for a couple of months there, we had no sports. Yeah.
Fuck.
So we did a lot of, we do a lot of, like internal, original content too.
Oh, cool. Okay.
We were showing documentaries and, some replay productions and stuff. So as far as my personal stuff, I haven't really been doing much freelance. I think sometimes you just gotta.
But I feel like with this going on and like, well, the shelter in place and also like, stay 6 feet apart. It's like, well, now I need to do a photo shoot. Like, how am I supposed to do that with like,
that was tough.
All of that, like masks and yada, yada, yada. Like, I feel like that's definitely taking a hit on some creative people when doing freelance. Like,
it was tough, especially because there's a temptation, as photographers, we're actually not that close in proximity all the time with subjects. Yeah. So it was kind of tempting to be like, I could get away with a photo shoot. And there was the draw. You knew everyone was on their phones and looking at content you were putting out. So it did feel like a time like, damn, I got to be producing right now. Yeah. But it was tough. I did, I kind of focused on design work a lot.
Okay.
Did some, if anything, I was doing like scenic stuff or
stuff where you
shoot where you can.
Go around some random place where you don't have service and no one's around you for miles.
And sometimes that's just for me. You won't even see that work.
Yeah.
You know what it's like.
Yeah, for sure. Sometimes I'll throw up like a scenic photo and be like, I don't know why I posted that, but fuck it. So
got to break the mold sometimes.
Yeah. I mean, so let's see. So for your work, no one got laid off and stuff like that. I'm sure you're able to take work home with you and stuff like that. Yeah. Like, so you're still keeping somewhat busy, like.
Yeah, I mean, we're at work daily, and now you see live sports are coming back. So many leagues.
Yeah, hockey.
Everyone's looking at the 4, American like professional sports, but you see other, foreign leagues. They were starting up a month ago and stuff. So we do have we were talking a little bit before this podcast, but we do all types of, we don't just do the basic sports you'd think of. We do everything from like bull riding to rugby to racing. And so honestly, a lot of those sports like fluctuated in these times,
Yeah.
like racing, especially where you don't have that much contact with other people.
Right.
So that's an easier sport to kind of get back going.
Right.
They're happening with no fans, but
dude, so
we'll see.
weird.
Yeah, we'll see how hockey goes.
I just because I'm a follower of Joe Rogan and stuff like that, and I mean, most people either know him from Fear Factor, his podcast, or he's the live commentator for the UFC. And I think he did one in Florida or something where there was no fans. And like I didn't see like the actual fight, but I saw like an Instagram live or something like that on Instagram. And it was weird like seeing that like touch gloves and all this stuff and like going back to their corner right before the referee like says, I don't even know what they say because it's like what fight, you know, but there's no crowd and I'm like, what the hell is going on? It's so weird, dude. Like,
have you seen they've been doing for, I think it's some European soccer league, but they're doing things like they have apps where you can cheer from home and they project the sound into the stadium for the players to hear.
Weird.
It's
you know, cool. But...
It's weird, but yeah, it's very cool. We have that technology, and it may be the way we have to consume sports moving, at least for the near future. So it's kind of weird to see that could be reality.
It is weird. I'm just happy that hockey's coming back. Obviously, the Sharks
couldn't even make 24.
Not even close. But like at the same time, I'm just like hockey, dude. Like,
yeah, there's
something I want to do, and we'll have to. Actually, do you know when it's supposed to come back? I obviously did not read the thing. I just saw that they're coming back, and I just knew the Sharks weren't in it. But
that's my issue with it. It's exciting that they're coming back, but the latest talk has been they're looking at December, January, like as I think best case scenario.
Okay,
I think at that point. Me personally, I'm kind of like, how worth is it?
How worth is it?
Is it worth it to finish the season? Like at that point, if you think about it, the NFL will be finished with their next season before we finish this season. So the NHL, which already struggles for grounds with other sports, now we're going to be an entire like calendar season behind other sports. I don't know. It could work out. I think the NHL is clear that they want the revenue coming in from the playoffs. You know, like they'll make billions on that.
Yeah,
so
of course.
I get quote unquote understand the need to finish the season.
I mean, when you think about it, like all sports, like the NFL, NHL, and stuff, it is a business.
Yeah.
So the business needs to make money.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think the NHL is going to go under if they don't have a Stanley Cup winner, but you got to have a Stanley Cup winner.
Yeah.
But one thing that I want to do is, and it's so, sometimes I hate when I do this, but just because I listen to so much Joe Rogan, like when I'm at work, I'm listening to like Joe Rogan, Theo Von, Chris D'Elia, like Fighter and the Kid, like all these different podcasts and stuff like that. And one thing that Joe does, he has like a podcast within his podcast where they call it a fight companion, and just him and his buddies come over and they put the fights on and they just get like, they smoke, they get hammered. Like, so what I want to try and do, maybe when things start to slow down and the NHL comes back, is maybe we'll find a game, like maybe you, my buddy Jason, and like maybe just the three of us, maybe have my brother putting shit on here, and we just like crack some beers, like just shooting the shit while we just have not even the audio for people listening, but just like just watching some hockey.
No, for sure.
Just talking shit, and like I think that'd be really fun. And whether people like it or not, I don't really care. I don't really give a shit.
Yeah, I don't even stick to Sharks hockey anymore. Like obviously it's my team, but you know, you move away from the area that your team's in, and you either got to get on board with at least watching other teams for entertainment, or you got to just only focus on your team. But obviously I keep in touch, or I keep up with Dallas and everything. Yeah. So yeah, I'm down to watch any.
I just think it'd be fun. Like obviously it's fucking content, which is sick from my end. Absolutely. But also just to get like hanging out. Like for example, like just you being across from me and not on the phone is just so much better, you know? Like one, we don't have to worry about like a phone connection. Like when I called you earlier before this, I called you through my setup because I literally just finished a podcast and like I could barely hear you.
Yeah, I noticed.
I was like, what the hell's going on? Like the one we did where you were in Texas, I could hear you way better than when you're like,
oh, I'm sure the quality
like a mile away. I'm like, what the hell? So like the fact that you're taking the time to come sit with me is awesome.
Yeah,
and
I
for
was
everyone
happy
listening,
to.
we're being safe. We're kind of far apart. Like, just chill out. All right, people.
Can't read you.
Yeah.
It's a good sign.
Let's see. If I told you, forgive me and tell me if I did, but this was maybe like last month. I did play Bo from Bless the Fall on NHL.
Oh, okay.
I don't know how those guys were so good, but the first game, he kicked my ass. And then the second game, he also won, but like didn't kick my ass as much.
Mm-hmm.
But dude, he kicks ass on NHL, dude.
I don't have any console, so I really only play when I come home.
Yeah,
and I'm getting whooped by
your little brother,
my 14-year-old brother.
My ass.
Yeah,
dude.
But he's playing every day, so it's like I can't really.
He has to make some money.
Compare myself to him. Shit, man, those are jobs these days.
I know, dude, and especially with like Twitch now.
Yeah,
like,
it's crazy. Get that money.
Have you thought about doing like Twitch or anything? Because like I love the things that you post of. What do you call it? Like a speed edit?
Yeah.
It's not like you're editing super fast, but you just do like the screen grab. Like,
yeah.
Have you thought about doing like a Twitch? I did it twice. I think you were on
like a lot. Oh yeah, the one where
when I was just editing, but like it was so laggy, dude.
Honestly, man, I think it's one of those. It's one of those leaps I'll eventually just have to make. I've put it out there and tried to see what the response from people would be. I'd like to think, if I'm going to put in the effort to upkeep, basically tutorials is kind of what I would like to do. Like,
that'd be sick.
different live tutorials and see how I edit some of my stuff.
Dude, I would watch that. How to do some of the stuff you do with like the, I guess if you want, I mean, it'd be a photo composite.
Yeah.
Right. But like, is there a term that you guys use within your business that it's called? Like,
just like a photo composite? I guess just a graphic. Yeah, but
like the way you do that, like
it's fun, man. And yeah, like what you're talking about, I do the screen recordings, like the time lapse.
Yeah.
They're fun to do, man. It's a lot of effort, and I respect the people who can, upkeep that that effort of, you see the people who have YouTube channels of just endless tutorials.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
dude, you should do that.
I will at some point. I think I really want to. I want to hone in my own skills and make sure I have a good collection, and also being able to articulate them too. It's one thing to just like throw up a video and like run through it, but I want to make sure I can make it consumable for other people too. You know? You're
not just like, there's some that I watch online and it's like this robotic voice that's like some guy just wrote down a script and like had some simulated voice. Like, I can't even remake it. It's like some robotic thing, and it's so not personable. It's like, I get what you're doing, but also it's like, I don't want to listen to you for an hour. Like, which I think, I mean, even just having you through like the last podcast we did over the phone, and then hearing your voice now, it's like you have a good voice for it. So like and people would.
Thank you.
I know, right?
Thank you. That's where I lower the voice.
Sounds so loud. I mean, that's one thing. It's like some people.
No, I'll definitely.
If you can't,
if somebody has a shit voice, I'll turn it off right away.
Yeah, like there's some people where they're like, not even like accents, but just like sometimes just people just don't.
I know what you mean.
You don't want to listen to their.
You know what I can't stand? People who finish every sentence like a question.
So
they
you're gonna
finish every
take
at a
this
high note,
and you want to drag this around here. Okay, and then you want to grab this
that.
point.
I will
like
X someone right then,
dude. Well, yeah, I think you should do that. And of course, like I kind of get where you're coming from. It's like you want to hone in on your own skills, more, so you don't come off as like.
Because even explaining to you how I, manipulate a photo sometimes, it's like, oh, you kind of just have to watch me, So I want to make sure.
Fuck, dude, I don't even know how to do this. Like, and I'm still learning at this, but like, I think it'd be sick. I do have. It's not out here. It's the brand by Yeti. It's a mic. It's just a USB mic.
Mm-hmm.
I could give it to you or something like that. It's basically you just plug it in, and I don't know. I mean, I use.
It's better than the computer one.
Like
the internal mic.
Yeah. That's what before I got. Well, actually, that was the first one I got for when I started the podcast, and then I got some other like these little Duke things, which are more made for music.
Oh, right on.
And then I was like, okay, time to upgrade. So then I got these. And then the next ones I'm going for, I mean, these mics are like $100 a pop, like, which are pretty decent. They sound great,
This
and
is
like
legit.
the build quality is amazing. But like the ones that I'm gonna get are like $400 a pop.
I'm excited to hear the difference between this one and when I was on the phone too, because you can tell when you're on.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like a phone call. Yeah,
exactly.
Shit, but yeah, I dude, that'd be super sick. I would definitely tune in and watch some of your stuff, because I mean, I do know how to do some of those like photo composites and stuff like that, but though obviously you're doing like, how long is usually those edits take? Because you're compressing it into like such a short amount of time, doing like the hyper speed.
Are we talking mainly about the athletic stuff?
I'm sure
that's kind of what I'm doing mostly these days. I mean, like, it's all up to how much effort you want to put in. Sometimes that first photo you edit from a shoot could take you 3 hours because you want it completely right. And then the next one, because you already like worked through it, that next one could take you 30 minutes. I guess it kind of goes the same with like graphics that we make. You can, kind of do the motions and get through it. But there are plenty that I spend a lot of time on, especially ones that go into my personal portfolio. So, but those compressed videos you see, it's normally like maybe an hour of work. But I love that. I think it's satisfying. I love when other people do that, seeing the time lapse. So I love watching. I wanted to start doing that early on. Yeah.
What's like kind of like put aside like well, you're in Texas, so it's a little different, but like, I guess just all in all, like for your like creative career, whether it's within the Flow Sports company you work for and your just personal freelance stuff, like what's kind of your next thing that you want to, I guess, learn, or like whether you know it or not, like what's like kind of the next thing that you're like, all right, so this is for me next step. So I guess maybe a little less about the company you work for, but more on your personal thing. Like what's like your next thing that you're like itching to kind of get into?
I mean, I'll get the typical answer out of the way because I've said it to you so many times. One of these days I'm going to learn After Effects. I know it's just gonna bring my video production up. But no, actually, right now I want to kind of revisit, like off-camera flash and all that. I haven't done it for so long. I've been working with natural light for years, and I do have a strobe right now, but I want to just upgrade everything. I've been looking at the Godox. You use that, right?
No, I got well, they're my dad's.
Oh, the same ones?
Forever.
Okay,
yeah,
well,
the
those
Policy
are timeless.
White Lightning.
Those are timeless.
Dude, yeah. I don't.
But now
they're all plastic, and those ones are metal.
We may have gotten into it last episode too, but it is crazy, man. Like when we were sitting in this garage like 10 years ago, we had to set up a heavy ass battery. You had to plug everything in. Your pocket wizards were like state of the art technology.
And now they're like
everything
$10.
is everything is Bluetooth, and it's all compact, and you just charge up like the strobe for like, I don't know, a couple hours.
Oh, wait,
you're just good to go.
Yours, you can charge your.
So I'm still back on a connected one. I'm still connected to my hot shoe. That's how like long it's been since I've really invested in strobes.
Okay. No, but you're saying like the strobe itself you can charge?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, dude.
Damn, because
it's not even a battery pack.
Like,
it is the battery.
We talked about it on the last one, but the Vagabond from Policy
exactly,
which lasted like what, a month maybe, for me at least. And then
when you charged it?
No, like until it just like fucking died.
Yeah.
And I'm like, fuck, dude. Like, it was like, I got it as a birthday present or something.
They're so expensive.
Like
they're $300.
And now they have some new ones, but like, I feel like
but
after
even
ours,
that was so heavy, and you had to lug it around.
After both of ours like kaput, then they stopped like remaking or like the cables for it.
Yeah.
So it's like, even if you wanted to try and save it and charge it, you can't, because like you have to find it from like Amazon or some shit, and still don't even know.
That's kind of why I fell out of like working with lights for a while, because I was like, okay, well, if there isn't like portable, if there aren't alternatives to the Vagabond, what am I using? And then I think my lights at the time broke down, so I was forced to kind of work with natural light, and you get into that flow.
I think that's so important though. Like obviously, like considering since I came back from my last tour and starting the job and stuff like that and the podcast, like I think my photo video has kind of taken a back seat. Because I mean, I'm absolutely loving the podcast, and like, if this thing
I think that's
pay
for,
the bills. Like,
I think it's
I'm
for
down.
a lot of people though.
So it's like
a lot of
kinda,
creatives.
Yeah. So it's taking a backseat, unfortunately. So I'm, in a way, doing the podcast is making me do more creative work because I need to create the things to post about it. It's been changing styles like crazy, but I think doing natural light, whether you're forced into it or like you started that way, it's like I feel like that is so important because you can fully try and understand lighting from whether it's super sunny or, I mean, God's softbox when it's overcast and shit like that, like understanding the light. And then when you bring in lights, you kind of have a sense of, okay, like this is how I want it to look and emulate the sun or something like that. So like, I think in a way it's a blessing in disguise, I guess. Like,
Sure.
Unfortunately it sucks because like we would love going out on location with our studio lights, but like being forced into a situation where you have to use natural lighting, you just dial that shit in. And then when you bring in the lights, like whenever you start bringing back your lights, you're just fucking crushing it.
Absolutely.
I don't know.
No, I completely agree. I think it is something it's just as impressive to know off-camera lighting. That's a whole puzzle in itself. But I think working with natural light and being able to adapt, and that's the key word, is you learn how to adapt.
You're saying it way better than that's what I meant. That's what I meant.
But that's what taught me the exposure triangle. Like really taught it to me. Now I can do it, by memory. I can be like, what's wrong with this?
Yeah.
It's ISO, it's, aperture. And it was by working in all types of light throughout the day that helped me.
I was going to say, because working with, I guess,
when you have your lights, you can set it to what you want.
Exactly. So like when you're forced to work on your natural light game, you're working with the light that's given to you.
Yeah.
And once you understand that really well and you start bringing in lights where you can control everything, you have such a better like sense of direction on what you want to accomplish.
Which is like why we love off-camera lighting, because you get to manipulate it. That's obviously the appeal of it.
Yeah.
But what we're also saying is to learn the natural way of it.
Yeah.
Then you're just more equipped for any situation, including like off-camera lit ones. Yeah. Got to know both.
Yeah, dude, for sure.
But that's to the long answer.
Yeah, I know.
I'm trying to.
I said the long answer, and you just come in with like the So basically, what you're trying to say is
Sure. I've been looking at a couple of Godox. It seems to be kind of one of the top of the line, like strobes right now. So I've been looking at that and just putting a couple bones into it.
Let me see here. I had I forget when it was. I had Justin Bettman on the podcast, and obviously he's just
legend,
destroying it. But dude, he's sponsored by a company called Braun Color.
Okay.
And they are Swiss manufactured high-end photography and film lighting equipment. So he's straight up just like endorsed by a lighting company.
That's like when you're that's like when we were 12 and like the kid down the street got Flo from the skate shop.
Yeah, dude, like I was Flo for like a couple things for skateboarding.
Oh yeah, I'm talking about you.
Which meant like absolutely fucking nothing. But like here we go.
Hey,
like,
if you
Justin
weren't Flo,
Bettman.
it meant everything.
Yeah, he just posted something. Oh no, I'm still on Braun Colors thing. But hey, I mean, if Justin's using it and he's doing shit for like GQ, like dude, the Apple thing he got commissioned for.
Oh yeah.
I was talking to him about that on it, and I was like, damn, dude, like.
I mean, he did the damn thing. I was, I was choosing between New York and Austin when I was moving away, and so New York could have been my final destination, and actually that's what it would have been, because I would have been eaten alive trying to do. He did that. He like went out and. I think he was freelancing for a while. I don't know if he went out there with a job, but
yeah, obviously it's
I'm saying
shitty that I can't remember, but we talked a little bit about it, like his decision to move out there, but
that was
he's coming back to LA.
Yeah,
but,
I did hear that. But going out, I mean, New York, man, I will say Austin is such a great place. It's a much more friendly place for creatives, and I mean that in the sense of more people willing to collaborate. There's more people willing to. I think, willing to explore local artists, independent artists. New York, I feel like, and obviously I'm judging, I haven't lived there, but it seems so cutthroat. And I hear this from other creatives there.
Agree.
Yeah.
I mean,
other creatives are like, yeah, it's fucking tough.
Yeah, I could see you living there for like a year or two, like just like immersing yourself in like a different world to like
if that, man.
only like it would be like one of those things where it's like, hey, like I'm gonna move to New York for a year just to immerse myself in a different environment, just for the sake of not even like your personal life, just solely for like immersing yourself in like a different culture of like art.
Well, and that's
would
why
be sick.
that's why I ended up thriving in Austin. I feel like because it was a different, especially different from here, where I feel like sometimes we lack an art culture here at home.
To an extent, obviously there is amazing art and culture here, but like as far as like making, not necessarily making a name for yourself, but like I get in a weird not in like a ego way.
Okay,
but like
you think about even just in our area alone. Where do events happen? We have to go to Santa Cruz. We have to go to San Francisco for shows.
Yeah.
And so that alone, I think you come across fewer creatives like you and I and Justin and Sam, and like a couple other buddies, Matt Haggerty. That knew a couple of photographers growing up, but in Austin, I know there are photography groups. There are walks every week. Cool. There are meetups. Yeah. And that's just something we didn't grow up around. So I think it's like you're saying, definitely immersing yourselves in different cultures. It's beneficial. Yeah, for sure.
Shit. Totally. Like as soon as I had something I was going to say and then it just like, as I was about to say it, just
that's my biggest fear is that you're going to ask me a question and I'm not going to.
Oh, I know. Well, that's the whole thing about like these. It's like some of my most of the people that I have on this podcast are friends, but there's been a few where like I don't know them at all.
Yeah.
And like some people have like, I guess when you think about it, it is an interview, but like I don't see it as that. So when sometimes people are like, we're like, hey, so like for the interview, like what do you blah 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 blah. I'm like, oh yeah, this is like kind of an interview. So in a way, it's like when there's like just off script questions and stuff, and it kind of hits like a place where you don't know where to go. You're like, usually like if you're on tour or something, it's like, all right, cool, all right, we got sound check, let's go.
Exactly.
Like something saving the bell. But I think there's just so much going on right now that there's like endless things to talk about. And I know we talked about it before, we're not going to get too crazy into anything, but as far as like your art being impacted by, or if it is being not necessarily being impacted as in like the lack of workflow, but as far as like the inspiration, do you see any different kind of inspirations coming into your work, whether it's seen the light of day or just personally from the like the coronavirus to now the protests and the Black Lives Matter movement and stuff like that? Like, have you seen anything kind of changing a course of some of your personal projects? Like, such a long-winded way to say that. I know it's like almost I was trying to ask something, and as I was saying it, like kept building on it. Sorry about that.
No, if anything, I think there's just been similar to what you were saying. I think there's been a lack of personal work. I've taken the last couple weeks to kind of experience everything that's going on, and to, I don't know, just kind of feel and understand what is happening right now. It's unlike anything that I think I've experienced in my lifetime. And I don't know, it almost feels wrong in a way. And that's not like meant to spread guilt, but you do feel like weird focusing on other things, because it's such a, both COVID and protests and everything going on across the world. They're just such bigger matters at play right now.
That it's like that, almost like if
it's
I
like how am I going to focus? Yeah, how personal, am I going to hang out at the skate park or like do photo shoots
when like you could maybe be putting like your creative input into something like a cause or like a post to
especially
spread news or something like that. Like
absolutely.
One thing. So there's I can't remember when, but the thing that kind of it didn't fail, but it got twisted around real hard was the posting the black square.
Yeah.
Because at first it was like everyone posted, and then people that didn't post it got backlash. But then people were like, hey, like that's not like stop tagging the movement and stuff, because now it's just like clogging the feed with nothing but news, or like nothing but the little black square.
Yeah.
And not seeing anything going on. Like when that, I guess, because to me, I saw that and I was like, I get it. Like I'm all for it. But at the same time, I'm like, hey, like now I don't see any of the news that's going on. It's like kind of just blocking out like all the information that we could use. So like, I don't know, like when that first happened, like kind of like what was your opinion on that? Like I'm not trying to like put you on the spot to make anyone else like think what you're saying is wrong. It's just an opinion based thing, but like kind of just like what did you think about it? Like, and by also just real quick, like if there's anything you don't want to answer, obviously, like I'm not trying to force you to do anything. So
I appreciate that. I guess I'll preface moving forward everything I say. I did want to make a point that I think, you know, as I'm obviously a Black man, and I think all Black people share similar experiences, but not every experience you hear is going to be the same for all Black people.
Of course.
I think that's really important for people to understand during these times. And I'm sorry, refresh. What was your ultimate
going off of the, you know, the posting of the on Instagram? I think it was just on Instagram, like the black square, and then like it clogged the feed of not seeing any information, because it was just you go to the hashtag of Black Lives Matter and it was just black squares. And which so, I get it, but anyway, sorry.
To bring my point into context, you know, for some Black people, that could be you know, that was a great sign of solidarity and whatnot.
Of course, yeah.
Me personally, you know, I can go either way with it. I do appreciate that there is this awareness and there is this willingness to make change and to be a part of change that I've never seen in my lifetime. Yeah. At the same time, there are things like that it's a great thought, but we all know it's not doing anything. Yeah. It's the same as the celebrities singing. It's the same as, I hate to say it, thoughts and prayers, you know, like, but there's just some things that it's like, yeah, great act.
But
thanks.
Really doing that much.
And yeah, it just kind of seemed like you can tell. I've been saying it too. I have had friends, you know, reach out. I've had friends post and whatnot. I think it's easy to tell who's being sincere and who's kind of just. I can
see that, yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. Like if they post like the square, or if they post like information in between like 8 selfies, it's kind of like, all right, well, did you need to just throw that up?
Right, yeah.
I'd rather you not do it at that point.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because it is important that people remember this isn't a social trend. It's not a challenge.
No, yeah, not at all. Like, I mean, going with the protests, I feel like, I mean, there's going to be people out there that, I mean, you see it all over the internet, like the girl borrowing the hammer or whatever from the guy just to take a photo and then like dipping in the car. It's like, that shit pisses me off.
That's disgusting.
And that's just me on the outside looking in on Instagram. And like, unfortunately, there are people out there that are going to try and just take like the Instagram photo just because they want to like seem like I guess, what's the word I want to use? Like, I can't like woke about the situation, I guess, but like the whole movement itself, like obviously like I will never fully understand it because it's not something that like, unfortunately I don't have to deal with it. And it's shitty to even have to think about that. But I think it's amazing. Like, I mean, San Francisco, the Golden Gate Bridge completely shut down with people protesting. And
I saw that. That was amazing.
Signs. Like my buddy Grady took some like iconic photos. Like I would not be surprised if I see it on like the front of like Time magazine, because it's like insane. So like that stuff, I absolutely love it. But like all the bad stuff that comes from it, like, I mean, I think we talked about it a little bit before this, but like the looting and stuff like that, not so down for it. But it's just such a powerful movement, and like this is going to be, I think, a good turning point. It's not going to just change overnight or next month or next year. Like it's going to take a lot longer, but like it's unfortunate that a situation like was George Floyd, that happening to make this happen, this situation. But it's happening, and I think for the long run, it'll make a very good impact on it all. So I mean, again, another long-winded thing of me talking, but
no, man. I mean, it's important to get, and I'll apologize now for repeating myself, but you'll probably hear me say again and again, like, there are things that I want people to understand right now. And one of them is that not only do these conversations need to be had, but I don't think it is entirely like, it's a conversation. It's a two-way street.
Of course.
I don't, while it is a time to be listening to Black voices and Black stories, I don't think that means just listen to us talk, and just eat it up. Like, it's important that we have these conversations and, you give your opinions and I can give you my experiences.
Exactly.
And that's making the comparisons will, ideally bring people more together. But it's like I was saying, man, I've never felt in my lifetime an uprise like this. Yeah. So it's impossible to not feel some hope that this could be the start of change.
Of course.
It's not at all going to be overnight, like you were saying.
Yeah, no way.
And I think that's what people are having trouble like coping with. Yeah. Like, yo, this could be a fucking long run. Yeah. I mean, it has been a long run, man. I've been, again, obviously being Black myself, this is nothing new for me or for other Black people. It's great that people are becoming aware of past traumas and tragedies, ones that I think Black people and people of all colors have, other people have been aware of. But it's crazy, man. You go back and you look at the other cases that have happened and I'm saying this because you said, like, it does suck that it came to that incident, but you go back on, the countless other incidents.
This isn't the first time it's happened. But the fact that there's social media now and people are filming, like,
every single time though, you hear like the same, I watch those documentaries and stuff. I like to be informed on what's been happening. And it's just sad, man. You hear the same hopeful talk back in 2014 when it happened, back in 1992 when it happened.
And it kind of just gets swept under the rug a little bit.
And so that's why it's such a complex time, because it's like, I'm seeing all of this hope and I am seeing change. You are already seeing change from the actions that have been taken. But at the same time, it's like, man, we've seen waves in the past before, in history before. So, and I don't know, maybe it's just an endless, and maybe that is probably likely what it is. It's never going to be a battle won. We just have to continue to combat it.
Yeah. Not, it's shitty because it's like, unfortunately, like, I mean, going back to like, it's not going to happen overnight. It's not going to happen in a few months. It's not going to happen, this year, next year. Like, it's going to be, a long battle for everyone to come together and see everyone as a whole. And there's obviously going to people be out there that don't agree, and that's their right to believe whatever they want. But unfortunately, like, the way we live, you gotta, love the person next to you. Like, that doesn't matter. And like, I mean, it's just a shame that it took, George Floyd dying and for this to happen. But
I think
it's just crazy, man.
I think a lot of progress is also hindered by just so many different dialogues being had at once. I think too, there's a majority of people who do get what it's about and get what people are so upset to the point of violence and of rioting about. But then even people who agree with the movement will come in with like a side argument or a side angle, and then that starts a new thread of arguments. And it's like, that's why it's going to take so long to make any progress, is because we even refuse to have just one conversation. And it kind of gets into the best example is obviously like the All Lives Matter thing. And, it's just, that's obviously a conversation and it's a true one, but it's not the conversation we need to have right now.
There was, and I hope I say this right, but I know it was by Joyner Lucas.
Yes.
I think he had in a song, which is like, I think it resurfaced with all of what's going on right now.
I'm Not Racist.
Yeah.
Yeah. Love that.
Incredible song.
Yeah.
But I think he has something about like saying all lives matter to the Black Lives Matter is a protest to my protest. What kind of shit is that?
Yeah.
It's like, damn. It's like, okay, yes, all lives matter for sure, but that's not the cause that we're trying to deal with right now. Like that's not I get it, but like,
yeah,
that's totally different. That's a different side note. Like
that's true. And I'll use this as an opportunity to hopefully like stop the spread of something too. This is a perfect example. You start talking about all lives matter, and then how many like memes and like tweets and shit of like analogies and metaphors, and then it becomes like a joke more. Like then we're sharing memes and we're not having the conversation at all. So, and again, going back to that's why this is going to take so long, is because we got to get people to focus first and have the same conversation. But I do feel like more are being had. This is the first time you and I have ever addressed my race. Yeah. I've done that a lot with close friends, lifelong friends that, for the first time in the last month. Mm-hmm. So I think that is really healthy. Because I do think it's important. It's a time when we are realizing that not seeing color, quote unquote, it can actually be harmful in a way.
Of course.
Because you do need to respect where people come from and what they experience.
Yeah. It's like, there's a lot of things, and I can't remember where I heard it, probably Joe Rogan podcast, but like the fact that there's some people out there, and, even myself, like some of the shoes I have and clothes that I have, it's like, it's inspired from Black culture. Oh, yeah, and not a lot of people understand that. It's like, you got to understand like how much stuff every day, like from, the obvious of like hip hop and rap, besides the music, like there's clothing companies out there that are like Black inspired and like came up because of all of that. And it's like, no one really kind of understands that. Absolutely. And like the seeing, what did you say? Not seeing color as far as like everyone is equal, like not seeing color, like everyone is equal. It's like, get it. Like you're probably coming from a good place, but at the same time, it's like, no, you need to recognize that there are different people in the world. And it's amazing. Like I'm white, you're Black. I consider you a best friend. You're an incredible photographer, videographer, graphic designer. And from skateboarding to coming into our own with like the art world, like we have our own styles. We're not like from just going off of like a photo style, like we're completely different, but we're within the same realm. Yeah. But you got to recognize like, transitioning from like different styles, like there's different people out there, and you got to like understand, it's like, damn, like, I love rap, hip hop. It's like that wouldn't, if white people grew up like making hip hop, like it wouldn't be hip hop. Like a lot of the stuff that we have today, we wouldn't have if there wasn't the Black culture. And I think it's incredible. And like, I wanted to obviously have you on because you're in town, and the last time we were on the phone and it was a great conversation, but in light of everything that's happening, it's like, I was like, man, I really want to like, for myself, know a little bit more. Sure. And be a little bit more in the know, and like, what can I not necessarily do? Because I don't want to like make it like, oh, I got to do this. Like, I got to help this. But more just like have knowledge on it. Yeah. So I can, in a good mind, know what is the proper way to do things, and like understand
almost like you kind of know the protocol.
Yeah.
And here's another like, hear this moment. It's important to know, like I said, this experience is not the same for every Black person. I feel like we are sharing a lot of the same emotions, but a lot of those are so complex, and for myself, they change, even by the hour. So I think it is important. I think you are doing the right things and trying to educate yourself. And it's good that, we're close enough, we can have these conversations, but it's also not a time to be like reaching out to every Black person, not you.
No, of course. No, I get it.
But
Yeah.
To everyone. Don't be hitting up that Black kid from high school and being like, hey, checking in on you.
Just because I want to have someone on of a different race to make myself seem like I'm doing the right thing. Like, I just want to be more aware. Besides the Twitter and the Instagram and Facebook.
And I think it is a time I normally wouldn't do this, but I think it is an important time to be speaking up because, again, I've I've had many, I feel like every Black person has an early, childhood memory of when they kind of started to put together that they were perceived differently.
Yeah.
And I can ask any of my Black friends and they have something similar to that,
Mm-hmm.
So while I can't speak for everyone, there are similarities that we all understand.
Of course.
And so, yeah, it is helpful to have these types of conversations because we can understand how to kind of like undo that way that people don't realize is happening.
And the fact of, well, first off, before I continue, I just want to say, I mean, we started off doing like in this podcast, like the creative stuff. And this kind of just, I knew I wanted to talk to you about it, but it kind of segued into it nicely. But I also want to thank you for, talking on it. Cause I'm sure it's not easy. It's not easy for me because I also want to make sure that I'm coming off correct.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. But
it's really,
thank you for, being open about it. And it's weird because like we've known each other forever, but I'm nervous because I don't want, I want to, like I said, come correct and make sure we're talking about some good
it's
stuff.
It's a really complex time. And I think at least for myself as well, because exactly. Again, I'm having these conversations for the first time with people who are close. Yeah. Even my family has said to me, it's almost like we don't see you as Black. You're just part of the family. Like you're Brian. We've always known you as that. And that's obviously a sentiment you want to hear. But again, it just can't be oversaid. Like these are the times that we at least need to be recognizing and acknowledging and respecting.
So I guess in your own opinion, and whether not speaking for everyone, but like in your own opinion, like what do you think people can kind of do to kind of spread more awareness besides the sharing on Twitter and whether it's, Instagram or Facebook or something?
Yeah.
Like, what do you think would be like a good step in the right direction for people? I mean, it might not be a full step, but like, even just, I guess, quote unquote, like putting your shoes on to even get into the situation and try and bring knowledge and understand a little bit more. Like, what do you personally think is like what you kind of wish people would maybe try and
honestly with all love, I would say just do more and like shut up about it. Like we see everyone sharing, and that's where it starts to irritate me too. Like, again, I said it earlier, but you see the same like memes being shared. And so like people are getting a message out there, but you're using other people's words. It's like, get off social media, watch your own documentaries, read your own books, stop reading what everyone's like tweeting about. I think it's beneficial if you are close with Black people, you know your relationship with them. If you guys are close enough to be having those conversations, they're obviously healthy to have. But also you just have to be aware too, and again, it's complex. Nobody has the answers right now because you don't want to overstep. But these are times to be sharing information.
And I guess going off of what we're doing right now, like it's not just me asking you to just for the next hour talk and I'm going to listen. Which, and I guess a different realm that could work, but I feel like, having the back and forth conversation hits differently than just being like, all right, I'm all ears. Like, spit it. Because I guess that's in a way like the social media realm of it. It's like everyone's just pushing information. And there are people having conversations, but then that's all digital. Like things get misconstrued and things like that. So like having a full like back and forth conversation, I think would be pretty healthy.
And I personally believe that I was saying, it does need to be a two-way street, because if you just heard me talking for an hour, almost inevitably it would just end up being, past times when I was made to feel less or I was reminded that I was different or perceived differently. And that's another thing that I think people need to understand right now. This is a emotional time for a lot of Black people because they're having to relive a lot of those memories that have stayed with them their entire lives. I have memories of incidents in first grade that I could, retell you right now because they're just burned into your memory. And they're not even, not every experience is like someone threw a slur in your face. You know, sometimes it's just like innocent things said, but that stuck with you. And whoever said it, they probably forgot about it. 5 minutes later, they get to go on living with their life. But, and I kind of derailed, but the point being, it's a tense, complex time. And so while these conversations are important to be had, understand that for a lot of Black people, it's not necessarily a time that we want to be like reminded of all this shit, you know?
Of course, yeah, because it's not.
You'd like to think that we're past that shit, yeah.
Of course. So, I mean, it kind of goes back into the, like, how it's a needed thing to happen, like all the protests and things like that.
Yeah.
Fortunately, it's happened because of, you know, someone, you know, being taken by the hands of the police, and it's very unfortunate, and we won't get into that side of it just because I'm sure that'll get taken.
I'm not even gonna touch that.
Yeah. But I see it heading in a good direction, and like we've said many times, it's not gonna be overnight, like months, years, like, but the fact that it's happening and on this scale, like LA being completely, you know, the streets filled with people, to San Francisco, Golden Gate Bridge, like, it's, I mean, obviously you see it on the news and stuff like that, and it's good, but like on the back lines of it, that's what I don't really know what's going on, like what to do, like, and being on social media, like, I don't think I've done much on Instagram, but on Twitter, you know, some reposts and stuff like that, because one, it's like,
and I'm not hating on that at all. No, like, it's good to be sharing that information, but when I see the same post from eight people, I'm like, all right, this is just, it's a meme now.
It's also kind of hard because, I mean, it'd be different if I went to the Golden Gate Bridge and took photos. Like, I would be posting it to share the movement, and not for myself posting photos and getting likes and all that bullshit, but like,
oh, it definitely needs to be documented.
Yeah, no, exactly. And I'm stoked, like, for example, like I mentioned, Grady Brannon, who was on the Golden Gate Bridge and taking some of these iconic photos that I guarantee you, like, I won't be surprised if I see them.
Books.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah. I'll show you after. Like, there's one that he took that's very powerful.
I bet.
And I mean, that's amazing. And like, for me, like, on the social media platforms, it's hard for me to post any. I mean, like I said, like, I'll retweet stuff or make a post, but it's not really anything different than what other people are posting, because, you know, you post one thing that you think is great, but someone else might see it and be like, fuck you. Like, what? Yeah. This is not what you're supposed to be doing. It's like, hey, like, I'm all for this. Like, this needs to happen. Well, I don't like the looting and stuff like that. We won't get into that, but it's like, it's hard because it's like some people will absolutely love what you're posting, and then some people will be like, hey, like, what do you know? And then wrong. Like, so.
And then maybe that's why social media is not really the platform to be doing, because you're just throwing it out to a vague audience. You know, you're throwing it out to your closest friends and then people you haven't seen in years. So, and that will judge your own opinion on your opinion. You know, if you have negative reactions to something that you think is right, you could trick yourself into thinking, oh, maybe I have it wrong. You know, so I think it's more important to be doing these things on your own in your small circles. I believe that change will happen within our own circles, in our own communities.
And I mean, by all means, I mean, I wish I could have gone to, I mean, San Francisco is like the closest one that was like full-fledged, like big. I mean, there was one in Sunnyvale.
I've heard of a couple walks around here.
But the San Francisco one will be iconic for sure, because like there's old photos from, I don't know the date, but like old black and white photos of people on the Golden Gate Bridge for the same reason, which is fucking crazy because we're still having to deal with it.
And San Francisco alone, like all the Harvey Milk stuff happening up there, a ton of movements.
But in a way, I'm like, okay, like, keep posting your photos and videos and stuff for the right reason, of course. But like, it's kind of crazy to think that, I mean, let's see. So for the George Floyd, the video that started everything from the Bay Area to LA to, I mean, there's people in like London, I think, you know, overseas, it's hitting everywhere. But the source of that was just a 17-year-old girl on her phone recording.
Yeah.
And it's just kind of crazy. It's like, it's bittersweet because social media can do a lot of great things, and there's also probably a lot more bad on social media than there should be. But like the fact that this one girl with her phone recorded something, and now it's a worldwide movement. It's absolutely crazy. Well, she's getting backlash too. It's like, I'm like, damn. Like,
and again, you have to remember that it's almost like I don't know what was different about this one. I'm glad it sparked a world, change, a world shift, but there are videos out there. And I said, like, the earliest one in my life was Rodney King 92. And, but this shit has been recorded for years. So I don't know what was different about this one, but like I'll keep saying, something does feel different. Yeah. And I hope it's not just, a hot trend.
Yeah. Like within a few months. It's,
because I mean, you hate to see it. There is already kind of a decline from like even last week to this week. You just see people starting to put more regular shit out. And, I understand we can't expect people to be obsessed with it every day. Even I don't want to be looking at it every single day. But you have to hope that momentum continues and that we continue to see change. Like I said, there's been some change. It's been great.
Yeah. Just real quick, when I look down, the extension cable that's down there, it's pretty finicky.
Okay.
So like there's been times where like, luckily it wasn't on a podcast. It was right before where I was setting things up and I accidentally bumped it like very like lightly and everything shut off. I was like, oh no. So that's why I was like,
no, that's all good.
Yeah. Let's see here. One thing, so kind of like segueing.
Waits with segs.
Sometimes, fuck. As much as I mean, I'm sure we can continue on with this topic for forever. And I mean, I don't want to, try and just keep it going because I want to keep talking about it. But if you think of anything like, obviously at the end, like if there's any things that we can, like, I think there's like I think it's just like blacklivesmatter.com or something like that. I can put shit in the bio notes or whatever. But one thing that I kind of thought was interesting with all the protests and stuff, it's like we're still in the midst of a pandemic.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of curious. It's like at the same time, it's like, yes, go out, like do the protests, like peaceful protests, do all that. But at the same time, it's like, hey, like a couple of weeks ago, like we were all sheltered in place, like because there's this pandemic. It's like, of course, talking about earlier, it seems to be a little bit more than what or less than what we expected it to be. But like, to me, I'm like, it's hard because it's like, you don't want them to stop protesting.
No,
but at the same time, it's like, guys, like, there's going to be a spike.
The hypocrisy is not left on me. The way I've been looking at it, I mean, I'm in that too. I'm like, oh, that's a lot of people together. Right. Well, honestly, man, I truly believe that is just how important that these days that we are witnessing right now are going to change the world. That people are, risking their health and risking their lives to be out there for this cause. And it's stuff like that that makes me feel that there is something happening.
Yeah. Because if there was no pandemic, it just, okay. Like,
I don't know. Like, I guess it's how you,
different though. Yeah.
It's how you look at it. I think early on, I just decided that was kind of inspirational to me. I know that might sound really stupid to some people, but I was like, damn, these people do not care. Whether this is blown out of proportion or not, the pandemic,
still in the back of people's minds.
These people believe that something is wrong this much.
And I don't care
to be out there by the hundreds of thousands or, however much they're showing up in.
Insane amount.
And it's like you were saying too, I remember the moment when I saw the first international protests. I remember seeing protests in Japan. And that was one of the moments when I was like, whoa, this is something. This isn't just, because we had riots in Ferguson. We've had riots across America in years past. And so it's not something we're not used to, unfortunately. But when you start to see it happen across the world, then you realize this is a human thing.
It's a human rights.
People who aren't even, and again, I use Japan, and that's why it was so impactful for me. Traditionally not a black nation, and for them to be up in arms about it, it's like, okay,
it's hitting everywhere.
Yeah, and there's a force behind it, and so it is a very exciting time. It's a very optimistic time.
Yeah. So as far as like going back to like what you think we as just everyone, like,
it's so tough, man.
It's hard
Because I'm still trying to figure out what I can do.
Right.
I want to be, like I said, I've been sitting on this for a couple weeks and just allowing myself to process and understand how I feel about it before. Really, this is me speaking out.
Of course,
I haven't been too public on my platforms, but I'm still figuring out how I want to contribute. Naturally, I want to be doing something creative that I can either donate to or give back to these communities. So I think, honestly, my best advice is just to figure out what you can do best. What is the most that you can give, and not rely so much on like, am I following this list that someone put on Twitter? Like, did I watch all these documentaries? It's like, if we're all, that's how we got here, was we were all being taught the same things and we were all consuming the same knowledge. And so as a race, as a human race, we all started to think the same way. Now's the time we need to be having different dialogues, different conversations. So my advice is get out there and, do your own research. Don't be asking your Black friends to help you with recommendations. Don't be asking other white friends because they don't know. It's like, you need to have these realizations and you need to educate yourself.
I think, and what you said about you still trying to figure out, like, as a Black man yourself, like trying to on your own figure out what to do. I think in a way, like, when you said that, I was like, damn, that's pretty powerful, because it's like, you don't even exactly know how to go about it. Like, I'm sure it's different from one person to the next, but like the fact that like you're still trying to figure out the best way to go about it, it's pretty powerful, because it's not just as easy as throwing a tweet, which by all means do it in the right light of things. But it's like, I think that kind of opens it up to like, wow, okay, like, yes, this is a big deal, and it's not just like, the protests are great and people trying to help the cause is great, but the fact that you personally don't exactly know what to do, not being like clueless about it, but as far as like, you just don't know the right way to go about it. I think kind of makes me even think more. It's like, well, damn, it's like, okay, I'm not trying to overthink it. Like, if I think of something to do, I mean, by, having you on the podcast and putting, links or whatever with this and stuff like that, like, it all helps. But like, to kind of really dive into your mind and like, hey, like, what's the right thing to do? I mean, I don't know.
A lot. I mean, and personally, a lot of the stuff I have started consuming, like Black history and Black content that I didn't already know. I've started, I started reading Just Mercy. It's one of the popular movies that are going around right now.
Just Mercy?
Just Mercy, yeah. I started reading that book, and, I'm definitely kind of geared towards like autobiographies and stuff that I want to check out. But again, it goes back to, and I think for Black people too, now is a time when I can be educating myself. So at least when I'm having conversations, I'm not just throwing out opinions based on what's going on in 2020.
You have some of that knowledge from things that you've read and watched to kind of be more knowledgeable about everything.
It's important. We see it daily in people's like comments and shit. A lot of people don't understand how we got here. And so I do believe it's important to understand why we're even here. And by doing that, you need to go back and learn from other people's mistakes and other people's history.
So the Just Mercy, that's a book. Do you know if there's an audio book? Because I can't read to save my life.
It's definitely...
I can read, everyone. I can read, but it just goes... Like, I can read it, and then like paragraph goes in, paragraph goes out.
Takes me a while too.
High school was fun. So Just Mercy. I'm sure there's an audio.
I mean, that is a good thing too. There's definitely a like romanticism about Black culture right now. Like every platform you see is suddenly blasting all their Black stuff. I think that's good though, and so I wouldn't be surprised if it's an audio book as well.
So Just Mercy, and then you earlier in the podcast you were saying like some documentaries and stuff. Is there some that like off the top of your head that because like just all in all, I love documentaries. But like as far as like immersing myself in the Black culture and knowing more, besides what I've learned in high school and just through knowing you and friends like that, it's like there's going to be more information to I guess know. Like, is there any on the top of your head that like?
I think, I could even, I could give you a couple. There's one of the ones that hit with me was "I Am Not Your Negro." It was actually by James Baldwin. He's the narrator. That's on Prime. I think it's just it's pretty powerful. It's pretty heavy. And these are some of another one is The Uncomfortable Truth. And a lot of these are going to make you uncomfortable, but it's,
I think that's good though.
The things that
it's gonna,
yeah. I mean,
if you have a heart, like,
yeah,
it should make you feel uncomfortable.
Exactly.
Like just talking to one of my best friends, like this is a great conversation, but like I'm nervous. I'm a little uncomfortable because it's not, like even, talking to some, like a close friend of mine, I was telling her that like I was gonna have you on and like, well, I went to the beach and was talking to her about it. I was like, hey, like this is, obviously talk about our like photos and stuff like that, but like this whole movement. She's like, oh, like that's
watch
like
yourself.
watch yourself. So it's like,
yeah. And
in the respects of like you don't want to say anything that can get misconstrued, and I hope there's nothing I've said that came off that way,
no,
course, but
not at all.
Uncomfortable is good when you're learning about something that shouldn't be.
I realize I just contradicted myself because I told you
uncomfortable truth.
Uncomfortable Truth.
Okay,
yeah,
sorry.
I know I just told everyone to go find your own stuff to watch, but I do believe those are good jumping.
These are ones
points
that hit with you, and I mean, some people like myself, I don't know where like.
I'm at least going to give recommendations of. I know everyone's super into 13th right now. On Netflix. Okay. That is a really good one. But again, I feel like that's the only one people are talking about and watching. And I'm like, okay, that's great. You watched a Netflix documentary. Like, keep going. Consume more. Like, it's not like homework and you're done with the assignment. Right, like, we have to keep doing these things. And, by extension, it will eventually be a much bigger conversation.
Yeah.
Obviously, it will not always be just, and it has never been just Black Lives Matter.
Yeah.
But I do believe that through this progress, through this movement, it will create progress for all people of color.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I get it.
I think it opens a lot of doors.
Yeah. Then a little bit earlier, you mentioned something like you want to try and bring your own creative mind into like making, whether it's a video or a photo or something like that for them, like the I guess the movement or something like that. Do you kind of have any? I just hit my head with the pen. Any ideas of what you're gonna try and do, like, or is it you just don't know yet? Or?
So I guess I'll take this opportunity to kind of break. I haven't announced it yet, but I'm going to be working with a movement called Soul on Ice. It started off as a documentary film about Black hockey players, and cool. Just advocates for the progression of exposing the game of hockey to more people of color, and by doing that, increasing diversity within the game. It started as a documentary, and from that, it started to become, what I think is a movement. They work with the NHL, and now they do a podcast.
Oh, cool.
So a couple of weeks ago, actually, before anything happened, I reached out to them, and, I was wondering if they needed a graphic designer.
Oh, cool.
So I will actually be working with them as their content manager, so social media manager, whatever you want to call it, but creating their content and by kind of branding their look. Cool. So and I said earlier, I think change starts within our circles. For me personally, I want to go out there and be on the front lines, both physically and metaphorically, but I know where I can make a difference now. And I believe that, I've always been passionate about Black hockey players and about their fair exposure. And I think this is a great platform for me to become a part of.
Yeah.
And I believe in what they're doing. And you see racial issues happening in the NHL this year,
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And so with that, on top of what's going on in the world, it almost all fell together at a very perfect time for me to be doing this. So
awesome.
Right now, that is my creative focus, and I think it's a way that I am at least putting some voice into the movement.
Yeah, because it could be different, like just to have some random person, just even if it was me, it's like I get the movement.
Yeah.
I didn't have to personally deal with it, but if I were to make content for them, it'd be different
Yeah.
But like you having your own life experiences and being a part of, the Black culture and stuff like that, you know it.
Yeah,
It's
absolutely.
a part of you, and you can put your own creative input on it and be like, hey, like, this is me trying to express not only the company or the podcast or whatever, but also your own beliefs and views and all that.
Exactly.
And share it with everyone else. And I think that will get grasped a lot better than if it was just like someone else just pushing content out, like.
Yeah,
So
I think in a sense
I'm stoked to see that.
Yeah, I think in a sense it'll be therapeutic for me too. I mean, I grew up playing hockey, and so I understand also what it was like to, you get young kids are fucking mean, dude. Like the things you hear on the rink and stuff. So I never played at a competitive level. I'm not going to front, but I do understand these guys who are, one of the hosts is prospect for the Kings. And so he's playing at the NHL level. Yeah. And, when elite players in a sport are still getting ridiculed and, hated, there's a problem. Mm-hmm. And so I know at least I can bring that, like you're saying, that personal experience and that touch to it. And so not only is it going to be therapeutic for me, but I do feel like I can provide a little bit more. And I'm not a regular on the show. I'm just doing the content. Yeah. I actually am hopping on next week.
Oh, cool.
So it'll be it'll be fun to do.
Post about that. That'd be sick.
But yeah, I don't know. I guess to really bring this full circle, I can't harp on it enough. I think it's just important to start exposing yourself to other cultures. I think people just don't, especially right now, Black culture. Yeah. I don't think people do that. And that's just it. It's like the ignorance. Sometimes it's not bliss, It's like if you don't actively immerse yourself in other cultures, you're not going to grow past your bubble, and it's just going to either keep you in that bubble for your entire life, or you're not going to be very equipped to interact with other people. Yeah. So
interesting. Going off of you talking about hockey, I don't know if it was just him, but Evander Kane, he started something with
the Diversity Alliance.
Yeah, I saw that, and a lot of people, like, I'm starting to see all sorts of players, like, from, I hope it's the same thing, but like Sidney Crosby to like all these people speaking out. It's like, like in hockey, there's a lot of shit talk from player to player, but like there's some other players that probably aren't even in the league, and it probably goes back till like from the beginning of, hockey in general. But like going back to what you're saying, like there's, some issues within not just hockey, but sports in general, but like hockey, there's a lot of shit talk. So to see him doing that, and also from the Sharks, which is obviously like, well, now you're like stars, but but like seeing that kind of come from someone, like if it was like someone from the Bruins, it'd be still cool. Yeah. But like the fact that it's like a hometown player, you're like,
well, it's like I was saying too, it's kind of easy, at least for me, to tell who's being sincere and who's kind of just like doing the PR motions. I really do. I feel like the Sharks have been one of the more progressive and vocal franchises. Yeah. Like you see people putting up the same statements and everything, but like Evander obviously being such an outspoken voice about this, the Sharks kind of have, I think I'd like to believe they would back him regardless, but they are kind of right there. It's like, dude, you're going to either back this guy or like, we're going to have a problem. Team. Yeah, exactly. Like, so, and I do think I just do think we are a franchise and a community. San Jose, I do think it's a place that would be more progressive. But so I did kind of take a victory with that. I'm like, that's my team. We're doing the right thing.
What was it called again?
The thing, Soul on Ice.
No, well, that's the one you're doing the podcast. And you're doing the graphic design work for, but the Evander Kane one.
Oh, the Diversity Alliance.
Okay. I just like want to have some like maybe some links and
I don't know
stuff I'll have to look it up.
I'm not sure what they're going to be doing. I didn't really read their mission statement, but it seems like a lot of big names, and especially from like back in the day too. I'm sure shit was even worse.
Like I think like Joel Ward and
got 2 Sharks on there.
Yeah. So like it's pretty crazy. Just complete. Well, it's on the topic of the Sharks, but Tommy Wingles, retired.
Yeah,
like, what the? He's like young.
Yeah, I think he is pretty young.
Maybe he's like,
but I mean,
crazy CTE.
I feel like hockey years are like dog years. Like people talk about people being old. Thornton, that's what I mean. Like we look at Joe, like Father Time,
Like,
but he's
yeah,
actually
he
in
owned a
his
grandfather
30s.
clock.
Like,
Oh my god! Yeah.
I'm pretty sure he's like 39 or something. I don't even know
Joe?
if he's that old. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Hold on. I gotta look this up because he looks like he's not that young. How old is Joe? I can't even type. 40. Which
that's pretty close.
makes sense.
That is like hockey ancient.
Yeah. In hockey years, he's like 80. But like, I know it's so kind of different, just like the way we were, like what we're talking about and the progression of this episode. But like, just going off of, and so many people at this point are probably gonna be like, oh, now they're just talking about people I don't know about. But I just want to know, like, I think he's got like one more year, and then he might be, or like one more year with the Sharks, and then might go to like a contending team to like try and win it.
I really hope not.
I thought he was gonna do it this year.
And
like,
the fact that he didn't maybe is some hope that he'll stick around. But
like all the people that left the team this past season are now all on teams that
I know
are in.
I can't get
the
over
playoffs.
Patty on Pittsburgh. That's weird.
But I mean, him and Crosby and like all those people. So it's pretty insane.
If and when we see these playoffs,
well, we'll have to pick a game. Like maybe a team that like maybe not necessarily teams that we like, but maybe it's like, oh, this is going to be a good game.
Oh yeah.
Like, just off the top of my head, I don't know if they're in it or not. I haven't looked at the spread of who's in it, but like, if there's a game of like New Jersey versus the Rangers, like that, those are always like a good.
Rangers made it. Devils.
Okay. Oh damn it! Because like New Jersey versus New York,
yeah,
it's always like
always a good one. Yeah.
But maybe we'll try and choose.
Yeah, that'd be dope. It'll be a home
I'll get Jason, and then you, and maybe I'll have like my brother Nick doing shit. I don't know, or maybe just the three of us and just crack some brewskis or something like that, and we'll just have a good time. Yeah, I mean, let's see here. Where are we at here? Hour 25. I mean, you got any last? You want to plug some of your socials? I mean, just so people can kind of follow you and eventually see. Whatever you're gonna
I hope I do come out of quarantine, out of everything, with just this like wave of inspiration. You know, because I think it is important to kind of bow out for every now and then. Recollect yourself,
keep your mental sanity.
Just
in general, not even with what's happening, just in general, like
absolutely
take a step back and collect your thoughts. And
Brian J. Delumpa on Instagram, and then bdimagery.co is my website. Always happy to do photography, video, and design.
Sick. Well, and I mean, I'll put that in the show notes and stuff like that. Sick. And then some of these documentaries and the book and stuff that you were talking about. And I mean, thanks for coming. Obviously, like, you're here in the Bay. Like, we could have done this over the phone, but I don't think it would have been received as good.
Much cooler experience to do it here.
Exactly, right? Over the phone, it's like, for me, like, I'm sitting here and I have the setup and I got the mic in front of me, but like, I always think, like, for the other person, it's like, whether they're just holding the phone to their face or AirPods, it's like, are you guys just like sitting there?
Yeah.
Like listening? Like, what are you doing? Like,
no, exactly.
I mean, like when I had Levi on, he was just walking around his block.
No,
I was like, so this is, I'm glad, especially for like the stuff we were talking about. I think it, kind of gets across a little bit better so we can see each other. And like, when I fumble over my words like a dumbass, like you can kind of see that I'm struggling on talking in general, which makes no sense because I have a podcast, but
happy to be here, man.
Yeah, dude. Well, shit. Let's close this out and just keep chatting. And let's try and do this again. Maybe down the road, kind of see where things go. And just thanks again for joining me.
Absolutely. My pleasure.